Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Super-Fanta-Fi. This being a show where I talk about shows of the supernatural, fantasy, and/or science fictional genre. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the season finale of The Magicians, as well as the series premiere of Hunters. Starting off with The Magicians, a very interesting thing about this show, obviously the show kind of bounces between jokey and serious. And this, to me, a lot of this episode was jokey, but it's like that later part of that episode was super dark. Some of the lighter hearted stuff I really liked is, generally, in general, I liked how, 75% of this episode is told from Quentin's perspective, told specifically, he's writing it down, he's writing the seventh book in the Fillory series. You kind of start off, nearing the end of it at the beginning, and then he kind of rewinds it at the beginning, you kind of see, about, I guess, 3/4 into the episode, and then he kind of rewinds it and shows you from the very beginning what happened. Some interesting things you end up finding out. Apparently, Fillory, the air, I think the percentage he said was 0.2% of the air is opium, something like that. So that's why you can't help but love Fillory. It's a little fucked up that's how they get you to love a place like that, but still, it's a nice place. I love how basically they got that blade made. The one that Elliot had to get married for them to get. It was kind of payment for it, which I thought was kind of nice. I was agreeing with Quentin because basically you had to have some kind of royal blood within you. And, Quentin was like, yeah, I was so sure it was me. And he's like, I know. He was like, you're shocked, right? He's essentially talking to the audience. I know, right? You're shocked too. Cause I love that in series where it's you automatically think this is going to happen because you're the main character. You're supposed to be the hero of the situation. So it's obviously it'd be you, but it's nope. Out of anyone, it's freaking Elliot. And, essentially Elliot, marrying, this woman means he can't ever leave Fillory. Which, to Elliot, he's kind of well, there's nothing back on Earth for me. It's just nothing but crap, So maybe, me being here means I can actually do something. I can at least do something good for once. Have my life having some meaning. He even had to, while they were off planning, he was essentially this whole wedding thing apparently means I have to go off and impregnate her now. So that was kind of interesting. And I love how Penny said, if we die while he's going, essentially, bawling out, I'm gonna fucking haunt him for sure. I really love that. Essentially, the only way you can wield a blade is if you're a master magician. Sadly, none of the group is a master magician, but there was a guy they ended up visiting. I don't remember his name. He's the horn dude. Essentially, he gave them their power. He gave them a way to boost their powers in the form of his semen. I loved it. And, essentially it was supposed to be Quentin who did it, but he gave it to Alice. He was because Quentin didn't feel like he was up to it. He always wanted it to be special, but he felt like out of anyone, it was Alice who needed to do this because out of any of them, she's the most talented magician. And I love how she downed it all in all at once. And then Margot's holy crap. I just felt so bad for Alice just having to chug that down. It's oh. Other things other than the Arthur dude, the one who wrote the Fillory books, the pedophile molester, that asshole is not the Beast, which it was already revealed. I mean, not to them characters, but to us. Like I said, in that episode, it's when the Beast was talking through Mike or controlling him. He's sister. So at that time, it's oh yeah, obviously it was Martin. Just oh, she's actually Jane. It's like I said, I was being stupid. I was thinking no, I totally misinterpreted that the wrong way. It's no, I was, like I said, I was being an idiot about that. That's why I kind of didn't talk about it. But, never mind. They find out oh, Martin's the freaking Beast. He's essentially been drinking water from this well. That this well is basically the source of all magic. And over time, it's eaten a little bit more and more of his soul until there's nothing left but the Beast. There was also a moment, two particular moments with Jane, because one was, it's pretty neat that Quentin and Julia ended up being a part of the Fillory books. Essentially, there's a thing that happens to Jane, and she gets saved by the witch in the Fool. It's something that is part of the Fillory books, and they were like, "Oh, holy crap! Like, we're the witch in the Fool." So that was kind of cool that they got to be a part of the story that they loved. And also, they actually met up with her. Sadly, Quentin revealed to her that, she's dead. This 40th time is the last time because she's dead now. And it's gonna suck, finding out like this, because she went into, probably knew this whole adventure. The way it is with time and everything, she knows, because this is her from an earlier point in time, probably before she did the 40th, rewind. She ended up, she went through it knowing that this was going to be her last time. Granted, she didn't know when she was going to die, but she's like, did I do it heroically? And Quentin's like, yeah, you did. She's like, good. Make sure they build when this is all said and done, make sure they build a statue of me. Make sure they get the chin right. He's like, I'll put that at the top of the list. I thought that's kind of neat. I mean, kind of had to find humor in it, knowing that you're going to die. She's like, but, at the end, she, as long as this works out in the end and the beast dies, she doesn't care, I mean, as long as, this time it works. Because, like I said, with her dead, there are no do-overs. But like I said, the later part of the episode is super dark. I do love how they did save that girl Victoria, the Traveler, as well as the guy that was with them, Bounce. They even left a freaking note saying like, yeah, you guys are doomed. Sorry, you helped us out and everything, but you guys are doomed, trying to go up against the beast, so we're leaving. But like I said, the latter half of the episode was super dark, because apparently you find out, because essentially it was patched. It was kind of a patch over her head, and it seemed like Jane knew about it. She read it when she touched Julia. Basically, a bad memory had been replaced with a good one, and she told Quentin to protect her, to look after her, essentially. So basically, the guy who gave his semen to give them more power ended up removing the patch, and basically it all flooded back to Julia. What she remembered is the god that showed up, the goddess, it was a setup. It was a fox god who tricked them into summoning them. He killed Richard by ripping his heart out, possessed his body, killed the other three, and proceeded to rape Julia. It was her way of, getting Katie more time to get away. So Katie was able to get away, but yeah. And Quentin's like, holy shit, like, how do you, because Julia wants revenge. She's like, how do you kill a god? It's like, well, we've done, it's like, she doesn't even think it's possible. Quentin's like, we always do the impossible. So essentially they go for the main confrontation, because, Alice drank the semen, so she had the blade, and she's about to go, attack Martin, but she realized she doesn't have the blade. He proceeds to, like, mess Alice up, and basically she's bleeding from everywhere. And she lands on the carpet. She's bleeding out. He slices off Penny's, both of his hands. And whether Margot and Elliot are dead, or Alice is dead, because we see Penny's still alive, but whether those three are dead, I don't know. It seems like they might, because neither of them are moving. Essentially, what had happened was Julia took the blade. She was able to take the blade because when the fox god, did his thing, his specimen, I can only assume from that's my interpretation of seeing, his specimen ended up boosting her power. So she was able to wield the blade, but she doesn't kill him, even though Quentin's like, do it. Basically, she wants revenge. She's like, I'll let you live if you help me, kill this god. And it's like, you got a deal. And essentially they disappear, and just Quentin's left there. And it's like, what? I was upset. I was like, what kind of ending is that? You SOBs, don't do that to me. Once again, I don't even know if the show is being picked up for a second season. I think it is. I'm crossing my fingers and hoping it is, because it's a really good show. I'm going to have to rewatch. I should have rewatched it while it was marathoning, just so I get a clearer picture of everything. Maybe a second run through of it, things will make a little bit more sense to me. But it's just like, that ending is crazy, dude. I cannot wait. Find out like what they plan on doing. I do hope he's coming back for a second season, because if it does, it's like, where's everything going to go from here? Now moving on to the series premiere of The Hunters, which I'm not going to lie to you, having a hard time following things. Granted, I guess that's purposeful. We end up finding out, that there's basically a special unit in the government known as the ETU, the Exo Terrorist Unit. They know about these aliens known as hunters. They essentially look like humans. They have different physiology, though. But it's basically about a terrorist group of aliens here on Earth, and they're dealing with it. And we have that character. I think her name is Allison, who has a connection to the guy that died at the beginning. His name is Paul. I guess he kind of mentored her. Essentially, we kind of see in a point in the episode that she was kind of having the same movements as the hunters, like they were skipping across trees, like non-human, like, and apparently she kind of moved the same way. I was like, part of me was like, oh, I guess everyone, their main agents in the ETU are like that. It's like, no, I think it's just her. She's kind of a special case. It kind of gets brought up later on in the episode when you meet like the main head of this terrorist group. I think his name's McCarthy. Is that it? Him and her are having a conversation about the thing inside of him and the thing inside of her both reacting. So it's like she may be human, maybe, but on some level, she's one of those things too. And we have this guy named Carol, an FBI agent, Carol being brought into the ETU. Essentially, he was being looked into a situation. Basically, there was a bust and there were questionable actions taken, so he's kind of under investigation about that. But he gets kind of brought into the ETU, which is a secret part of the government, like not me, because he at one point worked for Homeland. I mean, not Homeland Security. Was it? He worked with some group some government affiliation that dealt with terrorists, but he's like, I've never heard of the ETU. Essentially, their cover is basically Carol works for the Homeland Security. Now that's kind of his cover. You also find out that the weapons they're using to fight the hunters are weapons that are re-engineered. They took their the hunters' weapons and they re-engineered them, and they kind of send out like a. I like how they work. They're not like regular bullets. They're like they send out like sonic waves. That's how you kind of kill them. Essentially scramble their heads and scramble their brains. I guess is kind of the way to kill them. It's like anywhere else it'll probably hurt them, but you have to get a main shot in the head to kill them. Basically, his whole reason for joining is because McCarthy took his wife for whatever reason, which is like, I don't know, it seems like she had some secret stuff that she didn't tell her husband about because Carol ended up looking at her GPS because the little girl that's staying with him, it's not his daughter, Emily. She's not his daughter, she's actually his partner's daughter, like after his partner died, which it seems like it might have been his fault his partner died, I don't know. But essentially, Emily has shown him that she had noticed something on his wife, Abby's GPS, and basically that's how he ended up running into McCarthy. It's like that. So what connection she has to McCarthy and like why particularly he kidnapped her in the first, because when they interacted, it didn't seem like she necessarily knew him, but maybe she does. I don't know. And what's like Allison's connection to everything? Like, what's her situation? Is she a hunter or is she just a regular human? Is she half human, half hunter? Is she just infected by a hunter, but it hasn't completely taken over? I don't know. Like, it's a weird episode because it's like I'm gonna have to rewatch it because I didn't 100% follow it. I mean, I guess that's the point because it's like and that's the thing with like first episodes. It's like a lot of stuff is thrown at you trying to set up everything. And, maybe the point is, you get a little taste here and then eventually, hopefully you get paid off throughout the rest of the season, because Carol's not really understanding everything that's going on neither. But as the season will progress, as he learns more, we get to learn more. So, but it looks very interesting so far. But that's really all I want to talk about in this episode. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.